Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Begin Again University. I'm Dr. Ray Johnson, Chancellor and President here at Begin Again University. It is a gathering time that we say of teaching, training, and development that will help you begin again and to take the next steps in your life. I want to say welcome to our streaming audience on whatever platform you're watching this on. We will be right here all weekend long, tonight at 7:30, tomorrow night right at 7:30 again, and then on Saturday at 11 o'clock. Beginning in University is an opportunity and a chance to really give us the chance to really look at how do we develop skills and strategies to begin again in every area of our lives. And so having said that, here's what I want to mention to each and every one of us. I'm going to say this a lot tonight. Those of you who are watching by way of stream, I want you to type this in. Whenever you hear me say you can begin again, I want you to type in, yes, coach, I can begin again. For those of us in the room, we already know what to do. You can begin again.
Yes, coach. We can begin again.
Very good. We can begin again. That's our mantra in regards to getting in the right mind frame and the right mindset to literally start over in various areas of our lives. It's not just about relationships. It's not just about organizations. It's not just about looking at establishing something or going back to school. Begin Again covers the entire gamut of every single thing that we're engaged in and that we're involved in regards to developing. And so I'm going to kind of do some housekeeping things a little bit on tonight. Go ahead to that first slide for me. And so remember, Begin Again University is about coaching, training, and skill building. It's a consortium of consultants, professionals, and practitioners. I may be the only one right now, but we're looking at adding people to our team that are skilled in various areas. So for example, if I had someone on the team who was good at credit repair, then that person would hold a series and a session in regards to that in maybe a couple of weeks. Someone that's good at having access to loans to be able to start businesses. That person, along with myself, I'm pretty good in that area. So we're adding people to the team that'll be coming. Begin Again University gathers on a 3-quarter system annually with weekend events that take place in 8-week master classes in between to help you develop the new you. How many of y'all want to develop the new you? If you are continually being the same as you walk through your life, we ought to be growing from one level to the next level to the next level. Go ahead to that next screen. I want to look at the master's class that we covered. Most of you were a part of the summer session we did on crisis management, and we left it right at the strategic planning part. When we get to Saturday, we're going to jump right back into a little bit of crisis management, and I'm going to talk to you about strategic planning and how to develop a master plan. Coming soon in this January, I'll be doing something called Leadership Lessons, Building Backwards from the Ground Up. How many of you want to know if you're going to begin again? Sometimes you've got to literally begin to build from the ground up. And so somebody may ask, why do I enroll in Begin Again University? Go to that next screen. Because of these few things right here: mentoring, modeling. Here's the big one: mind molding. And I like this: the motivation to begin again. You can think about starting over again in areas of your life all you want to, but until you have got the right mindset and the motivation, here's a first nugget for the night: consistently over time. Write that down, put it inside of the chat. Consistently over time. You've got to have motivation consistently over time. That is what's going to help you begin again in various areas of your life. And so what do you receive in the Begin Again leadership development and mentoring and coaching group? Go ahead to that next screen for me. What you receive is this: leadership and organizational development, relationship readiness, repair, and renewal. Because how many know, like I know, like everybody is not ready to re-enter again to another relationship. Everybody ain't ready to go back to school. Everybody ain't ready again to start getting involved in a reciprocal relationship with someone that they are offended with or someone that they offended. So we're going to really focus on being repaired and ready and renewal. So the specialized coaching and mentorship that we have access to is the 3-quarter system. I meet with you 3 times a year. And so always you'll see us in October, right, like we are right now, again in January, and then there will be some 8-week classes in between the 3-quarter times that we gather. We'll gather again in April. Another 8-week class will take place over the summer months that will help us. Here's what the 3-quarter model includes. Go ahead to that next one for me. Spiritual, relational, and leadership intelligence. I like that. Spiritual, relational, and leadership intelligence. You've got to be able to spiritually discern what's going on around you, and then how to understand how to operate and to work well with people. Some of us have great ideas, and we've got great concepts, and we've got great moments whereby which we believe that God's called us to some specific things. But how many know, like I know, you need people? And so we're going to have some sessions on people skill development and then increasing your capacity in all 3 of these areas. The monthly trainings, I'm going to get ready to pick up on those throughout the Begin Again coaching and mentoring group. We've got a new page. And if you haven't yet joined that group, you want to do that as soon as you can with weekly, or I would say bi-weekly lunch and learns right at 12 noon. And then that private Facebook community group, that one's going to be important because you're going to learn as much from each other as you are from those who will be your instructors as you're involved in doing this. Is that all right? I want to jump down. I want to deep dive and get on in on this on tonight. Tonight and this entire weekend, we're talking about leadership that begins within. And all leadership development begins within. It's got to start with you on the inside. If you're going to begin again and develop and strengthening your leadership, it begins not with an instructor. It doesn't begin with a professor. It doesn't even begin with entering and engaging with another person, whether that's romantic, business, educational, or development. Everything really begins with you. It's got to start first with you. And so this weekend's gathering and training focus on, I want to really talk to us about developing the leader within each and every one of us, because all of us have some leadership capacity. However, the capacity that we have is on different levels. I'm going to just fast forward ahead real quickly. There's a book I want you to read. I'll bring it and I'll have it in here tomorrow. Write this down real quick in your notes. Put it inside of the chat for those of you who are watching. The title of the book is called Leadership Pain. Leadership Pain. That book by Dr. Sam Chan helped me come through some of the darkest days of my life over the last, I would say, 15 years or so. I often go back and refer to that book and spend time reading it over and over and over again. So when I talk about your leadership capacity, here's what I mean. That particular book drops some nuggets on us from this standpoint, and in terms of this, your ability to be able to handle and increase your threshold of pain as a leader determines how far you will go with your leadership. Your ability to manage, remember in crisis management, we talked about managing pain. So I want you to think now and switch mindsets, because all of us have got areas of leadership that we've got to be able to grow in and handle. So let's talk about parents for a moment. Parents, to the degree that you can handle the emotional pain of adolescence of your child coming through 12 to 18, how many of you, like I know, there are going to be some painful moments and have been some painful moments? What about when they get between 20 and 30? Painful moments. Your ability to be able to navigate that and handle the pain and not allow the pain to make decisions for you will strengthen the resolve of your leadership, and also will help you manage well in terms of maintaining the relationship. Is that all right? Come on, is that all right? You can begin again.
Yes, Coach. We can begin again.
So I want to kind of jump right on in on tonight and really start right here. Go to the next screen. Everyone has a leadership threshold. Everyone has a leadership threshold. Some thresholds for leadership are greater than others, and they are developed and determined by, here, I'm already there, pain management, resilience and recovery time, and resolve and willingness to reinvent yourself. How many know sometimes you got to have enough resolve and enough resilience to be willing to reinvent yourself, because times change. Times change. Times really, really do change. And so before it's anyone else, it's always first to you. When was the last time you took a good look at yourself in the mirror and had a conversation with yourself? There got to be moments where you've got to be honest with yourself, where you've got to have the tough conversation with yourself, and you got to look back over the last few years of your life to find out where you are and look at how you need to change and look at how you need to grow. Because we're in a time now where the world is really passing us by, and there are really new technologies that are happening and are evolving all day long. Let's talk relationships for a moment. And now I'm an old school kind of guy. I like to look at a person. I want to see them. I want to go out on some dates with them. But we live in an age of AI, don't we? And people can create all kind of profiles that they want to create on social media, can't they? And so you don't know who it is that you're engaging with just through an app. But you'd be surprised today of the number of relationships that happen as a result of people first connecting online or through apps with social media. And so the adjustment that you've got to go through to develop your threshold for leadership in that area has got to begin to increase. Tonight's key, here's tonight's key. I want you to go into that next screen. Tonight's key is this: regimentation. So everything that you've got in your notes, follow along with me on tonight. But the ability to begin again begins with leadership within, and your own leadership begins with how regimented you are. It's why I started out tonight talking about increasing and improving your leadership skill, and your leadership ability begins with how well you're able to increase your leadership threshold. Leaders have a lot of varying areas that helps to strengthen their ability to be able to lead. How well can you lead yourself is going to determine how well you lead others, and will have a great impact and influence on promotions that will come. Now, let me just jump to Sunday morning for a minute. Now, I know this isn't Sunday morning, but I'm a preacher, so a lot of my euphemisms and metaphors come to me in that way. I know that we may hear from time to time the verse of scripture in the Old Testament, I think right there in Proverbs, that promotion doesn't come from the north, east, south, or west, but promotion comes from the Lord. How many of y'all recognize and remember hearing that verse, right? Now, that verse really helps us understand that God is in charge of when doors open and when they close. Can I add something to that from a coaching standpoint? Not that I'm trying to add to the scripture, but I want you to understand how promotion really comes. Because God uses people to open doors for you. Let me say that one more again. God uses people to open doors for you. People who are literally sent on assignment to help you, to actually open doors for you, will determine whether or not you move into the next phase and area of your life. So to the degree that you're able to manage the relationship with people makes all the difference in the world. Come on. You can begin again.
Yes, Coach. We can begin again.
I want you to think about relationships that you have had that perhaps maybe you have mismanaged. And I want you to think about your own leadership threshold of how you can improve in areas, and a part of that improvement is going to begin with how well you become regimented in terms of how you look at orienting relationships that are in your life. Let's go to that next screen for me. Regimentation is about the disciplining of oneself in a routine fashion to bring about, here it is, expected results. It's about disciplining of oneself, here we go, in a routine fashion to bring about expected results. The two key words in that tonight is discipline and routine. I'm going to just segue and talk a little bit about when I was about 13 or 14, I used to go to the basketball court in my neighborhood. And the basketball court in my neighborhood and the basketball courts around in my city area, you know, it's not like it is today where we kind of give out trophies and certificates for participation. That wasn't necessarily my experience growing up. When I went to different basketball courts, guys picked you based upon, first of all, your profile. Second of all, based upon your reputation of having played other places. Third was your skill level. Did y'all hear what I just said? First, it was your profile, how you looked when you came in. Second, it was your reputation. What have other people said about you as a ball player? Third, it was your skill level. Now, most of us think that people would make decisions about you based upon your skill level. How many of y'all found out that ain't necessarily the case? Because you can be the best at something, but if you don't necessarily manage well, here we go, the relationship and increase your threshold for leading yourself to be in relationship with them, you can get passed over all the time. So when I was a young guy, I really couldn't handle the ball well. Now, I'm not 6'5", I ain't 6'6". I'm not going to be playing a power forward or center. I ain't one of the big dudes. I'm a little guy. So little guys were fast, quick, but they all had one skill that I had not yet developed. I was converting over from being a defensive back in my neighborhood, playing on my neighborhood and little league teams, to now having to play basketball, Cheryl. And I'm talking about it was like I had two left feet out there, Mike. And so what happened was the guys used to take, now my dad worked at a sports store, so I had all the fresh sneakers. Way before everybody else had them, I had them. But just because I had the sneakers don't necessarily mean I knew what to do with the sneakers. So I used to get Spaldings, Wilsons. I remember when the first outdoor, indoor leather balls came out, I had one first. The guys used to take my ball and play 10 or 15 games that I never got on the court. I went a whole summer, and I think I maybe played a total of 5 minutes from May to September. I said to myself, this is going to be the last summer that nobody is going to pick me up on their team. And I went to work. I went to camp, went to 2 different camps. And then all of a sudden, I learned the skills. Are you catching what I'm saying to you? I learned the skills of what it took to develop my ability to handle the ball. Consequently, the next summer, when I came back in the same neighborhoods, in the same places, it started again. 1 week would go by, nobody picked me up. Second week would go by, nobody picked me up. Somebody got hurt in one of the games, and they had to choose me. Never despise the open door opportunities that God will give you by way of default. The question is, are you ready for the moment when it happens? When that moment happened for me, all of what I worked on over the summer, throughout the next year, kicked in, and my ability to handle the ball, the rest of it is history. I became one of the best ball handlers in our area, but because of regimentation. I would get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, ball handling. I would then take a break around 9 o'clock, eat breakfast. Then I was in the gym with coaches from 9 till 12. And then I would be out playing at a playground somewhere with guys with lesser skill, ball handling. And then that would go on for weeks and weeks at a time. But I had a regiment that no matter what happened, I was always going to be working on my ball handling at least 3 times a day, 2 or 3 hours at a time, for years at a time. Did you hear what I just said? 2 or 3 times a day, I let nothing get in the way of my regimentation. What's getting in the way of you improving in a skill area in your life? I didn't care what it was. When other people were trying to go do the hangout thing, I was like, I'm not going through another summer sitting on nobody's bench. How about y'all? I want you to see this particular video about working that I want to put on the screen, and I want you to check this out. Those of you that are watching online, you're going to hear it in just a second. Go to that next screen for me, inside of the room. Go to that next screen, and then kind of move your mouse over at the bottom, and it's going to start playing as you see it pop up, and I want you to hit that button, and it's going to play for you in just a second.
Results, but I'm a little bit better. Work, work, work.
But you over here.
Work, 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 work. Work, 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 work. No results, but I'm a little bit better. Work, 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 work. No results, I'm a little bit better. Work. I just got paid. Work, 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 work. No results, but I'm a little bit better. Work, 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 work. Work, 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 work. No results, but I'm a little bit better. Yeah. Work,
Go
work, work,
to the
work,
next
work.
one. I'll just
No results,
talk
I'm a little bit better. Work. Boom.
Just go to the next one and then
Got
stop.
paid. And it looks like
This
overnight
particular
success.
screen, which what the audience online saw, and for those of us in the room, just leave right there for a second. That particular video, as you saw online, talks about the work you got to put in. And it says, You got to work, 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 work. Nothing changes. Work again, work, 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 work. Nothing changes. Work again, work, 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 and nothing changes. Sometimes you put in a lot of work and you don't see change until there's a moment that happens that causes for the work that you put in to bring about the change when an opportunity opens. See, a lot of times when we start to say, I'll use another example here. Another example I have is I've got a person in my family who always says, I'm not necessarily that good being out up in front with people. I don't do good with public speaking. But the kind of, so how many of y'all would say, I don't do good in front? I'm good behind closed doors, but I ain't trying to be all out in front of everybody. But what if a part of your life call at some point and at some level is for you to be out in front of people? And being out in front of people is going to take you to another level. Let's make it practical, financially. But if you never take time to put the work in to become a better public speaker, you're always going to find yourself in a moment where you're missing opportunities. And here's what really happens. What really happens is when we miss opportunities, we get upset and we try to blame God. And what God is like is, I've given you time to work on the skill set to increase your leadership threshold so that when I come back around and create the opportunity for you, the work that you put in is going to open the door and make the way for you. A lot of times we miss a lot of moments that can happen for us because we are unwilling to put in the work. Here's what happens. When the work doesn't produce the results in the time frame that we think that they should, we often quit. I'll say that again. When the work doesn't produce the results in the time frame that we often think that they should, we quit. Let me come to the room for just a second. There was, matter of fact, I'll use me and her. She ain't gonna like this, but it's gonna be okay. And because we're streaming, she can't come over here and stop me right now while I'm talking. So, a regiment of trying to date lady was very, very difficult because she was intent. I ain't getting married again. I don't care what you say. I got the Holy Ghost. I can hear God for myself. And I've already made up my mind about this. But I had an end goal in mind, an end game in mind. So back then, the radio show that I'm on every week used to meet on Tuesdays. And I already had to be over there at the station every Tuesday. So I said, part of my regimentation on Tuesdays is I'm in early to pray. The word happens. I leave radio station. And I said, I'm not going to let a Tuesday go by where I do not do lunch with her. It took about 2 years of every Tuesday with lunch with her before she figured out I was serious. Because it's one thing to be serious when you're out publicly because you're the pastor, right? It's another thing when you got to be serious because you're just a man and you want this woman. Relationships require regimentation. I'm trying to help some guys and some women right now who are watching online and you're trying to figure out, why is it that I can't ever find somebody? Number one, have you worked on your skill sets of working on yourself to be presentable enough to present yourself to somebody? And when you have locked in, have you then start to put in the mechanisms in place to show them who you are more than say who you are? That right there was the price of admission right there. Have you worked on what it takes to show them who you are rather than tell them who you are? And that begins with regimentation. So for that 2 years of Tuesdays was about me showing her who I am, showing her that I'm serious, showing her that I am committed to this. So you can show up late. You can decide you're going to have something else to do on the job and you ain't going today. You could decide. It didn't make no difference to me because I already had to be at the station. So after about 5 months, she decided he's serious. So I might as well go ahead and go to lunch with him. I mean, the food gonna be free until she had to start paying a couple of times. But the regimentation part of it is what I want you to get in on. On the screen that's coming up next, I got a nice video in here that I wanted you to see. Maybe online might be able to see it, about one of our heroes of today's time. In my opinion, now I understand millennials and I get what are they? You got millennials and then Gen Z and Gen A, and then you have some argument within my generation of Gen X, but nobody who in the boomers would ever argue this. In my opinion, the closest person to the greatest basketball player of all time, Mike Jordan, in my opinion, is Kobe Bryant. He's Kobe Bryant. Now I understand online crew, don't cut the video off, don't go nowhere yet. I understand some of y'all got LeBron James in there. Okay, but 6 rings and no losses in the finals is 6 rings, no losses in the finals. It is what it is. And it took Mike all of the 80s and until 1991 before he started to win championships. So he grinded up the old school way. The person who is closest to him in that 5 championships, 4, I think 5 NBA championships, 3 MVPs, 2 Defensive Player of the Year award, top 10 scoring of all time. And there's a couple of accolades I know I'm leaving out. 2 Olympic gold medals. I know there's a couple of more I'm leaving out. Is Kobe Bryant. And here is what Kobe Bryant had to say about regimentation. Let's see if we get it to play on your end too. I'm gonna come help you. Go ahead and play for our online community. They'll catch it. Oh. Nada, huh? You should use MJ. You probably would work. How you doing online? You got nothing happening online either. All right, come on back to me. So in Kobe's video, and are we back to me back there for our online community? All right, cool. For Kobe's video, here is what he went to say. He talked about how he could get up at 4 a.m. where most of his competition, other guys in the league, were getting up at 6 a.m. And he said from the time he came into the league, he said he realized this is going to be my life. By the time he came into the league, he decided I'm going to be different than everybody else. One of our hometown favorites here locally, Allen Iverson. We call him Chuck from around here in this area. He said his first time playing against Kobe, he got into the city of LA. He got in a night before. Kobe took him out to eat. On another podcast or two, when Kobe took him out to eat, other guys were saying, man, you shouldn't do that because he's studying you. You thinking about having dinner, he's studying you of where you are when you are relaxed and when there's no pressure on you to figure out what makes you tick. And Kobe started to do that all throughout the league. He learned that from a guy that's another one of the Hall of Famers, Oscar Robertson. Oscar Robertson used to take guys out. He would find out about them. And then when he played them, they used to call him Black Jesus back then. He would hit 4. He was a walking triple-double. And he would constantly outscore everybody because he knew everybody's tendencies. Well, Kobe picked that up. And Kobe then took that to the next level by waking up at 4 a.m. every single day in the off season. Are y'all hearing what I'm saying? In the off season, where everybody else is out partying, he's picking up his routine 4 a.m. every single day. And he's rolling all the way through, which led him into who it is that he has become. And so what I'm saying to you is I'm asking you a question tonight. What routines have you developed that will cause you to be who it is that you want to be? For me, I just had one of my sons in ministry send me, don't worry about it, go ahead to the next screen. I ain't gonna worry about it. Uh, one of my sons in ministry sent me one of his videos of him preaching. He remembers being in preaching class with me. He said, I want you to critique me. For the last 22 years, before I started pastoring, I had this regimen. Every Tuesday, everybody that knows me and has worked in this ministry and served around me, on Tuesday mornings, you don't mess with pastor, because that's his time where he meets with God, where he hears God's voice of what to say. Because if God ain't got nothing to say, I ain't got nothing to say. We don't mess with pastor at 5 a.m. My wife can tell you, Monday morning, 5 a.m., he's not here. He is down at the church, and it's him and God. That's a regiment that I have had, that I maintain in my own life. My question for you is, what regiment have you put in place to develop who you want to be? Go ahead to that next screen for me. Routines are part of the establishment of your pattern that produces success. It's what one does regardless, watch this, of crisis circumstances, confusing moments. They stay locked into their routine. No matter what happens, they lock in on their routine and stay right there. See, routine regimens, anything that you have had or will have success in requires a routine. I graduated from college, not necessarily on time, but graduated from my bachelor's degree because I developed and learned how to have a routine. It's the routine itself that requires discipline. What routines do you have? Even now today, I'm glad Mike is here. I don't even know what happened to my wrist, lady, and I still can't figure out what happened or what took place. Maybe it was lifting heavy one day. But Tuesdays and Thursdays are workout days for me. And then on alternating weeks, Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. So odd and even, I have routines. I don't care what happened, I'm in the gym. I don't care what takes place, I'm in the gym. I don't care if it's sleet, snow, rain, sunshine. Watch this one. Whether people accept you or not, do you have a routine? Whether or not they reject you or not, do you have a routine? Whether or not you get applause or the lack thereof, the question is, do you have a routine? Go to that next screen for me. What stops leadership from beginning again is being undisciplined. What stops you from beginning again in the various areas that you say you want to begin again in is the undisciplined nature of a lack of a routine. It's not that God don't love you. It's not that God is not open doors for you. It's not that God won't make a way for you in some kind of way. It's the fact that you have not disciplined yourself to have a routine. Let's walk through some of these. You need a mental routine that you take yourself through each and every day. A mental routine. No matter what it is, a mental routine. A lady sings in the shower. I got to get up and go to my cave because she's in the shower and I can't sleep. But that's her routine. Are y'all catching what I'm saying? Emotionally, you need a routine emotionally for how you're going to handle disappointment, frustration, difficulties. Here's one of mine. Whenever I go through an emotional, disappointing moment, I get in the mirror by myself and I start to say, hey, you ain't call yourself. You are not responsible for outcomes. You are responsible for putting in work to produce outcomes. Outcomes belong to heaven, not you. And I say this to myself back and forth, and that sounds crazy. But in order for me to survive some of the horror stories of my own life, I had to practice this routine. Physically, I talked about my working out. Spiritually, do you have a routine? Do you have a set time and a set place where you meet God daily, weekly, monthly? Is it worked into your schedule? Here, I put these two up here. I'm glad we're all adult people on tonight. Blank the screen out for all of the young people in some kind of way. But do you have a sexual and financial routine? Do you have a routine that says, I am only sleeping with this person this number of times a week in this number of months? Does that translate into years? I might as well get on in there. See, some of us end up in trouble Some of y'all laughing, but I'm being real clear and serious with you. Some stuff is not the devil. Some stuff is because you don't have a routine where you decide when you're going to go, where you're going to go, how you're going to go, when you're going to be there, and how you're going to get there. Some stuff the enemy cannot mess your life up with if you got a routine. You got to be, it's why the scripture says that you got to preach in season and out of season, that you got to be on in season and out of season. Am I making sense tonight? Come on, you can begin again.
Yes, Coach. We can begin again.
I'm talking to you about a routine. Let me talk to men for a second. It can be 36, 24, 36, 42, 38, and 40. It can be whatever the dimensions are that you like, okay? And the way you want it and how you want it. But if your routine is right, it ain't that she's not fine. And I might as well, I know I'm in a room full of ladies, but it's okay. Ladies, what helps keep us is a routine and a regiment with God. That's what helps keep us. Let me just be honest. Come on, brothers, don't let me out here by myself. Am I talking right? It's a routine that you have with God that keeps you, and not because you're so disciplined and you got so much control over your flesh. It's because you got a routine with God, and you know that at a certain time and every week, I got to talk to God. At some point, I got to go deal with God. At some moment, I got to go deal with God. And after a while, you get tired of getting slapped up across the head when you got to deal with God. Come on, am I talking right? Do you have a routine that can keep you out of certain situations and scenarios? Okay. When I was doing a lot of traveling and preaching, always had somebody with me. It was my armor bearer in one room, me in the next room. Now, people try to get slick with all of that. And so what I did to be of a protection for myself, I got adjoining rooms between me and him. So at any moment, he can put the door open and go, who in here with you? Routine. Okay. Are you understand what I'm saying to you? Routines are important. Do you have a financial routine? Some of us, sometimes when we get to places where we are not operating within our budget, it happens like that to some of us sometimes because we break routine. You should have a routine of when you pay certain bills at certain times. We should have a routine of when it's time for us to tithe. We tithe, and then boom, we roll through the rest of our bills, and then boom, what we got left over. Some of the stuff you can avoid some of your teenagers by saying it's outside the budget. We ain't going to Chick-fil-A, it's outside the budget. We ain't going to Applebee's, it's outside the budget. We ain't going to the happy hour or to the bar. I don't got that kind of money, it's outside the budget. By having a financial routine that is already in place. So y'all hearing what I'm saying to you tonight? Come on, let's go to this next screen. So in developing discipline, we must learn to develop discipline. We must learn to develop discipline. It's not automatic. Discipline is about, here it is, delaying gratifications. Discipline is about delaying gratifications. Lady and I are trying to teach our young man that about right now. Delaying gratifications in the development of your routine. Delaying gratifications in the development of your routine. Discipline is about management and control of your, here we go, desire. And we must control our appetites of what we see, taste, touch, smell, hear, and feel. It's about the desire, controlling your own desires. This is a big one right here. A lot of times we get in trouble in various areas because of what we see. And then because of what we may have an appetite or taste for. Have you learned to develop your discipline over your appetites and over your tastes for certain things? I'm trying to help us live practically every day. Discipline is about exposure. Exposure can ruin the untrained and undisciplined mind. I need a better example of that, so I'm not always going there. I don't have one, so hey, I'll have to go there. How much time do I have? Talk loudly. It's okay. Low battery, so you need a, take this over there to her, Eric, if you would please. Sir, she needs this, and she can plug right into what's on the floor. Cool enough. That's why we do these, we practice. So, one of the things that I have learned to um, do well on is learning what season I'm in. So I was talking to a young man, and everybody knows that I like BMWs. That's my car of choice. Okay. If I can buy it and I have a chance to choose to buy it, I'm going to do it. It is my taste of a car. I got that way by way of an exposure of a mentor in my life. One of the difficult things that happened to me was I got exposed to it too early to where I didn't have the resources to afford the upkeep on it. And so I had a guy who say to me, another mentor say to me, don't buy that car right now. Buy your wife a house first, and then you got 4 kids. Buy a minivan. I was 30. I was making real good money, doing very, very well for myself. I was like, why? Why? He was like, because you can't afford the upkeep on that car and what it's going to take to run your household. But I got exposed to it early. Sometimes you can get exposed to stuff too soon to where you have not developed the regimented routine of affordability to be able to handle. That applies to a lot of different areas. And as we go through this weekend, I'm going to make some applications and you're going to have some moments. That's why that didn't work out, because you didn't have the capacity to be in that kind of environment. It was 40 until I bought my first one. I think I was 41, 42 until I bought my first one. But my house was already purchased. My wife was already taken care of. Money was put aside already for the kids in school. And so now I could go do it and maintain the upkeep on that kind of a car. Are y'all understanding what I'm saying? Discipline is about management and control of your, here it is, determination. We must become resilient in our thinking with our thresholds. Must become resilient in our thinking with our thresholds. Okay, so you got to have determination on one. Doggedness is my one. You got to have a dogged mentality that says, I will dominate this and become an expert in whatever field that this is until I love it. I could not handle the ball well when I was younger. And so I decided this ball is not dominating me. I'm dominating it. And I drove my parents crazy 12, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning in the garage with that basketball. But as a result, didn't nobody have to pay for me to go to school. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm saying to you, whatever you get yourself engaged in, do it until the disciplined part of it becomes a love for you. Kobe Bryant loved getting up at 4:30 a.m. When him and Iverson had that dinner, it's all over social media. You can see it as Chuck talks about it. They had that dinner. Kobe said, well, what you about to get into right now? Chuck was like, I'm in LA, baby. We rookies. I'm going to the club. Okay. Kobe was like, nah, man, I'll be in the gym. I'll see you at the game tomorrow. Right? So 5 rings, no ring. 5 rings, no ring. You see what I'm saying? The discipline of a routine, no matter what the field of choice. I don't care if it's business, education, relationships, money, and investments. You've got to have discipline in order to be able to make movements you want to make. So how regimented are you? Go to that next one. Here's what I want you to set some times for. I want to set you to set times for when you work. Set times for waking up, when you get up. Set times for your recreation, when you work out, when you go on vacation. Set times. Set times for it. Set times for it. Set times for dating. Set times for working out. Set time for study. Set time for skill building. Set time for when you're going to go to sleep. Some of us, we are just up at night doing nothing. And some of us, we wake up too early in the morning doing nothing. And some of us are wrestling in our sleep at night doing nothing. Set times where you say, this is the time I'm going to sleep. I'm not staying up all night worrying about this. I'm making myself go to sleep. Am I talking right tonight? This is a part of the exercise of regimenting yourself so that you're able to get to the place of where you want to be in your life. We're right there, right where I want to be at tonight. Tomorrow night, I want to thank you for those of you who tuned in. Tomorrow night, we're going to delve right back in on facing realities. And when we talk tomorrow night about facing realities, I want you on tomorrow night to be prepared for some real deal conversation on some stuff and tough areas that we got to face. When we get to Saturday, we're going to now start developing strategic plans of the tough realities that we have to face based upon our ability to regiment ourselves so that we're able to finish well. I want to thank everybody for tuning in that's online on tonight. We'll see you tomorrow again at 7:30. We'll jump right back into the stream. We've got some more on tomorrow on Facing Realities. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you. Always remember, no matter what happens, you can begin again. You can begin again.
Yes, Coach. We can begin again.
We'll see you tomorrow night. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.